Hi you guys, I am your Command Master Chief Shelby Phillips. I'm going to be going over some military customs with you. The first one I'm going to go over is addressing cadets. So if you go into the cadet handbook, either online or the one that Master Sergeant is going to give you once we get them, we do have all of the enlisted ranks and the officer ranks. So enlisted ranks, we have E1 through E9. So Seaman Recruit is what all of you guys are right now because you guys haven't been able to take a test. And E9 is going to be Master Chief, which is my rank. And then we have officer ranks, which is O1, so ensign, all the way up to O5, which is commander, which is your commander bell. So we have all those different ranks, and for all those different ranks, we do address cadets differently. So for E1 through E3, which is Seaman Recruit, Seaman Apprentice, and Seaman. So all three of those, we address the cadets as cadet. So if they ask you a question, you say cadet, blah, blah, blah. Or if you are being dismissed from the class, you say aye, cadet. So that's how you address those three ranks. And then the next three is E4, E5, and E6. So E4, E5, and E6 is petty officers. Now, petty officers, you just address them as petty officer. Or you can say petty officer first class, petty officer second class. But normally we just go petty officer. So if they're asking you a question, or if they're talking to you, you say petty officer, answer their question. Or you say yes, petty officer, no, petty officer, that kind of thing. While I was editing this video, I realized I did not do the best job at explaining the next ranks, so I'm going to just do that now. So the next ranks that we have are E7, E8, and E9. These are going to be the last of the enlisted ranks, and these three are going to be chiefs. So E7 is going to be a chief petty officer, E8 is a senior chief petty officer, and an E9 is a master chief petty officer. So with these three ranks, when you are addressing them, you are going to call them by their title. So if a chief petty officer is talking to you, you say yes chief, no chief. Senior chief is talking to you, yes senior chief, no senior chief, or if you're answering their question. And the same thing with Master Chief. If they are talking to you, you say yes Master Chief, no Master Chief. And the next ones that we have are going to be 5 officer ranks. For the officer ranks, you can tell that they're officers based off of their collar insignia is going to be bars. So that makes it easier to identify them. But when you're speaking to officers, you are going to call them by sir and ma'am. So if an officer is speaking to you, then you say yes sir, no sir. Or if a female officer is speaking to you, it's yes ma'am, no ma'am. That is the last of the ranks that we have. Now the next one I'm going to go over is answering questions. So I already went over how to address cadets and based off of their ranks. So this is when you're going to use it, when you're answering questions. Now when it is a uniform day, you wear your uniform, you come into class, and then you are going to be graded and tested on your uniform. So if you were talking to a petty officer, and they ask you, who is the President of the United States? That's a question they could ask you. Who is the President? You would say, petty officer. This cadet's President of the United States is the Honorable Donald Trump, petty officer. So the way you answer a question is you say the rank and then the rank at the end. So if you're addressing an officer, sir, this cadet's President of the United States is Donald Trump, sir. You always sandwich it, basically. So you have the bread, you have the answer, you have the bread. Make sure you always sandwich it, because then they know that you're done with answering the question. Always answer confidently, because it's better to be confident in yourself than to stutter and not be like, But if you do end up messing up in the middle, like if they ask me, who is the President of the United States? And then I say, sir, this cadet's President of the United States is Master Sergeant. If I mess up like that, then I'll say, as I was, and that completely erases what I just said. So if I say, as I was, you restart. So you'll say, as I was, sir, this cadet's, finish the question. Because you can always restart, you can always redo what you're saying. There's no penalty in restarting your answer, because sometimes we have an answer in our head, or sometimes we don't even have an answer in our head, and you're just saying it, and then you're like, oh shoot, that's the right answer. So you just say as I was and you restart. Now the next one I'm going to be going over is saluting. So you can salute while you're walking, while you're seated. If you're seated, you stand up, obviously, and go to attention. Or if you're in a vehicle, you salute when they get within 6 paces. So if you were standing and an officer is going to walk by, so you're here, right? You're here, you're right here. Officer is walking, when they're within 6 paces, you go to salute. You're in the salute, you don't stare at them. You go into the salute and you're basically at attention. If they return the salute and then cut and then go back down, then you can go down. Or if they don't return the salute and they just keep walking past, then you go down after they have passed you. Hey, me again. So I explained what to do when they are walking past you, but I did not go over what to do when you are seated. So when you are seated in a seat, the officer is walking past you, you would stand up, go to attention, and salute them. And then the same thing, if they return the salute, then you can cut after they do, or you wait until they pass you. Or if they are passing you in a vehicle, you can salute them. You just have to do it if it's safe. So if it's safe enough for you to stop and go to attention and salute them as they pass in a vehicle, then do so. The reason why we salute is to show respect. So if you are saluting an officer, it shows them that you respect them. And the same thing with the colors. If you are saluting the American flag and stuff for like the national anthem, it is to show respect for the country and for the flag and for everything. Alright, the second one I'm going to be going over is attention on deck. Now, attention on deck is used in the military to address officers and things like that. So when an officer walks in, you call attention on deck. Now, for us, what we do is we call it for adults, so 18 and older, basically. So if you are in a classroom, in the RO classroom or in the wardroom or something, but when an adult does walk into the room, once they step foot inside the door, if they're standing in the doorway, do not call it until they're inside the actual room. Once they're inside the room, the first person to see it happen calls attention on deck. So the person who sees it first needs to be confident in themselves and calling it loudly. Because if you call it really quietly and 3 kids that are standing around you do it and then no one else does it, Master Sergeant Commander get very mad. Okay, so it doesn't matter if you called it but it was very quiet. If an adult walks into the room and Master Sergeant Commander do not see us go to attention on deck, we will be doing push-ups. We will be getting punished, and it has happened multiple times. And sometimes you're in the back of the room, you don't know what's going on, and then you have to do push-ups because someone didn't call it. It's a team effort. Everyone should be paying attention, and when an adult walks into the room, you have to call attention on deck. And just for respect, it is so, if an adult walks into the room, especially a counselor, and they need somebody, they're not telling Master Sergeant's like, Phillips, Mr. Schreiner needs you, and we can't hear him because everyone's talking. So if an adult walks in the room, especially a counselor or a parent, normally they need something. So they'll come into the room, call attention on deck, everyone goes silent because you are at attention, you stand there, and then the adult will come in. If it's not super important, they'll say at ease right away. You kind of finish what you're doing, but you do it quieter because they are still trying to talk to Master Sergeant Commander or trying to find something. But if it is important and they need absolute silence, we will be in silence and they won't call at ease or as you were or anything like that until they're ready. So they come into the room, they need to talk to Master Sergeant or something. They will, the room will be silent for them because we did call attention on deck. They can talk to Master Sergeant. Then once they leave, if they don't call at ease, either Master Sergeant will do it or the person who called attention on deck will do it. He comes into the room for the first time. Call attention on deck. It is for respect. He's an adult. He is a veteran. Call attention on deck. And then he leaves, right? So you go at ease, you finish what you're doing. He comes back 3 minutes later, trying to figure something else out with Master Sergeant. Don't call it again. He's already came into the room once. You don't need to call it again. You don't need to call it multiple times for the same person because it's just unnecessary at that point. So Master Sergeant Commander always going in and out of the room all the time. So if they come in or if they leave, you don't need to call it a second time, if that makes sense. So I will be inserting a video of a class doing it. That way you see what it looks like and what kids are expected of to be doing when someone calls attention on deck. And yeah.
Attention on deck. Turn.
Alright, the next one I'm going to go over is dismissing the class. So when we are dismissing the class, sometimes it doesn't always have to be the highest ranking person in the classroom. Sometimes if the class is almost over, math sergeant will tell you to do it. So dismissing the class is a really easy process if people are paying attention. So what they'll do is they'll center themselves on the class. And they'll say, class, attention. Go to attention, kind of like when you're doing formation and stuff like that. They'll say, class, attention. You go to attention, you stand there, you stare straight, and they say, at the sound of the bell, you are dismissed. And then you repeat, dismissed, aye, aye. Then you say their rank. So if I was to do it, I would be standing at the front of the classroom. I would say, class, attention. And then you guys would stand up, and I'll say, at the sound of the bell, you are dismissed. And you would say, dismissed, aye, aye, Master Chief. And then sometimes if the classroom is dirty, the person dismissing you will say, they'll say, clean up the classroom, and at the sound of the bell, you are dismissed. And then you'll say, dismissed, aye, aye, Master Chief. That way, once you say, dismissed, aye, aye, Master Chief, you clean up the classroom right away, and then once that bell rings, you're out. Normally they say clean up the classroom when it's icy because it's the end of the day. Sometimes we'll say it in other classes if we're busy. And then after you say dismissed, aye, aye, rank, you can start doing whatever. You can go out of attention and start cleaning up. You don't have to wait for them to tell you at ease or anything. But once you say dismissed, aye, Master Chief, then you can go out of attention and do whatever you need to do. The next clip is a demonstration of dismissing the class.
Attention! Clean up the classroom at the sound of the bell. You are dismissed!
Dismissed. Aye, Master Chief.
The next thing I'm going to go over is the bell. So not the school bell that rings when the class is over. This is our bell. I will insert a video of where to find it and what it looks like at the end of this. In the Navy, they would use it on the ship. Now what they would do when they didn't have clocks or when they didn't have something to tell time, they would use a half-hour glass, not an hourglass, a half-hour glass. And they would have a watch boy. And what the watch boy would do is he has a half-hour glass sitting there. Once the sand is drained down to the bottom, that means it's been a half hour. So what he's gonna do, he'll reach over the bell, ring it once. Then he flips it over, and then he waits for the next half hour. That way it alerts the entire ship, 1, he did his job, and 2, another half hour has passed. Another thing it was used for is if there was fog. So if a ship is going through really bad fog or something, they would ring the bell. That way ships that could be around them know that they're there. That way they don't run into each other. And then they would also use it to sound an alarm. So if there was a fire somewhere on ship, they would ring the bell for 5 seconds, and then they would ring it after 5 seconds of rapidly ringing the bell. They would ring it 1 time for the front of the ship, ring it 2 times for a mid-ship, which is like middle, and then they would ring it 3 times for the aft of the ship. And then for the bell, they would also use it for ceremonies. So if an important person walked in, like the captain walked into a ceremony or something, they would ring the bell to tell people who is here. That's what we use it for. We use it for ceremonies. So dining out, and for awards night, And for other things that are, for other ceremonies that we hold, if the principal is coming, if we have other people attending, then we ring the bell a certain amount of times per person. Also, don't touch it. If you ring the bell, you'll get in a lot of trouble. You ring the bell, you get in a lot of trouble. Mass Sergeant or Commander, here you ring that bell, you will be punished. Alright, now the next thing I'm going to go over is the Pledge of Allegiance. So, we do the Pledge of Allegiance at the beginning of every class. If you're in second period and fifth period, normally we'll just do it with the announcements, but if you're in first, third, fourth, we do it on our own. So what we'll do is we'll have someone stand at the front of the classroom, call everyone to attention, she'll say, class, attention, everyone will go to attention. And then in Mass Sergeant's room, we use that flag right there for the Pledge of Allegiance. So you go to attention, and then the person that is calling it will say, face the flag. You kind of do like a, depending on where you're at in the room, you do like a little left face, like not like a full left face, but you kind of turn in order to face the flag. He'll say hand over heart, ready, begin. You say the pledge, I pledge allegiance to the flag, blah, blah, blah. And then once you finish the flag, once you've finished the pledge, so you'll say for liberty and justice for all. You'll be at hand salute right here. Don't go down right away. Person up front will say, ready, cut, go down, and you'll say as you were. So when he says as you were, you can sit back down, you can finish what you were doing. But that's how we do the pledge in class, and that's how we do the pledge if we're out back. If you're in uniform, of course, you'll say face the flag, hand salute, or present arms, you go up, and then you'll say ready, two, you go down, and then as you were, you can go back to how you were. I'll insert another clip of what that looks like after this.
Attention! Face the flag. Hand salute. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ready? Two. As you were.
Now, the next one I'm going to go over is wearing the cover. This is the cover you guys will get because you wear khakis. So when you wear the cover, you wear it outside, unless you have a building over your head, of course. You wear it outside. Don't wear it inside unless you are carrying something. Now I'm going to go over this. So you wear the cover if you are carrying a rifle, if you are carrying rifle gear, if you're carrying a flag, anything that has to do with color guard. So color guard is the United States flag, the rifles, the state's flag, and stuff like that. If you are carrying something or their equipment, and then you wear the cover. And then you also wear it if you are carrying a rifle for a drill or something like that. So the reason why we do this is because it shows that you're armed. In the actual military, you wear your cover when you have a rifle or something on you because it shows other people that you have something on you. So if you're indoors and you see someone with a cover on, they have a rifle with them or something of that sort. So don't wear it inside unless you have a rifle or you have color guard gear and you're carrying something of that sort, and then you always wear it outside. And whenever you come inside, you take it off. There's no special way to take it off. You just remove it from your head and carry it in your hand. Alright, last but not least, the wardroom. So, the wardroom is a place for us seniors to work. In the back of the wardroom, there's a little door, and through that door, normally it's open, you can see Mass Sergeant sitting at his desk. That is Commander and Mass Sergeant's office. So they have their classroom space with a computer and a bunch of their stuff, And then they also have their office with their own computers and a bunch of their other things that they need. So if you need to talk to Master Sergeant or Commander and you go into the wardroom, you have to knock on their door, even if it's open. Still knock on the door, and then Commander or Master Sergeant will say, "Come in," or "What's up?" In order to get back there, you have to ask permission to come aboard. Now, I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. But in the wardroom, we have this yellow tape on the floor. It is bright, it is yellow, can't miss it, okay? So the yellow tape, you stand behind it, and if the XO is in there, which is Gallegos, I'm in there, if Bell is in there, anyone who is a chief and above or an officer, normally what you want to do is address the highest ranking person in there. So if Bell is in there, your battalion commander, you address him, of course. XO is in there, address him. Depends on who's in there. But you are going to stand at attention, you turn, you salute the flag, you go down, turn back, and then you salute them, and you say, "Permission to come aboard." They will ask you why. You'll tell them why. Sometimes we'll have you answer a question in order to come aboard, like chain of command or order to the sentry. But once you answer, they'll say, "Very well," or they'll say, "Come aboard," something like that. Once they cut their salute, then you can cut yours, and then you can go across. I'm going to show you what that looks like. I'll show you the wardroom, and then I can click.
Permission to cross.
Permission granted.
Alright, that is all the military customs I'm going to go over at the moment. I hope this video kind of helped you learn how to do some of the things, because a lot of the times, especially with like the pledge and attention on deck, Master Sergeant will explain it to you, but it's really hard to show you what it looks like. So hopefully this video kind of helped you see what some of the things look like, see how to do some of the stuff. That way you're more prepared when the time comes to go do it. Yeah. Hopefully that helps.